Analog night vision is truly an amazing capability and technology. Using something called an image intensifier tube, it is by far the simplest and highest performing type of night vision. With battery lives of upwards of 50 hours, no refresh rate, and no IR light needed for clear performance, it is the undisputed king of night vision. Digital night vision, on the other hand, uses a low light camera and a display to make an image out of near darkness. While modern analog night vision outperforms digital night vision in pure performance just due to how the systems work, some digital night vision offers some unique features that are not available to analog systems at this time. One of those features is color. For the last 3 months, I've been running the NVG30 from Goodnight Gear. Quick disclaimer on that. This was provided to me for free by Goodnight Gear. I'm not paid by him or required to make a good review on it. In all honesty, for $500, this device really surprises me. This device performs very well with more than 50% moon. Along with this, it has two really nice features that are not present on analog devices. These features are color and recording capabilities. Out of just pure curiosity, I was wondering if I could bridge my Analog Gen 2 Plus monocular and the NVG30 to try to bring some color to analog night vision. Before I get into how I did this, let's talk about why and how it looks. First, the obvious. Color is just really cool and pleasing to the eye. This is really hard to show and how it looks, especially in video, but I can overlay pictures to mock up how this works and how it looks. There are some practical advantages to seeing color as well. Contrast helps the human brain recognize things, and color greatly helps with that. By combining the color performance of the NVG30 with the pure low light performance of an analog system, I found you get the best of both worlds. If you put an analog system over your dominant eye, for me that is my left, and your brain will prioritize the better image from the analog system. With the NVG30 over your non-dominant eye, your brain will overlay the colorful image on the analog system's image. An unexpected, yet something I really should have seen it coming, effect of this is actually depth perception. This is honestly really cool in my opinion, and works way better than I thought it would. Even when it gets too dark for the NVG30 to make a color image, it generally still can make a pretty clear monochrome image. Your brain can combine the two images together and give you depth perception. This is very useful for movement, which is the primary use for helmet-mounted night vision. Now don't get me wrong, someone that is well trained with a monocular will always be faster than someone that never uses their dual tube system. But if you have a choice, depth perception is really nice to have. If you have more interest in a bridged digital system for depth perception than color, you can change the color palette on the NVG30 to match either green or white phosphor. Just remember the NVG30 does perform worse than any modern analog night vision device in low light, and remember all the other downsides of digital. I want to remind everyone that these effects do not work for everyone. Some people's eyes and brains just won't let this happen, or it is incredibly nauseating to do so. I'm very lucky as this is just a seamless effect for me. The last advantage of bridging these two is recording. Being a camera, the NVG30 can just record what you are seeing with the press of a button. This offers no real advantage, but it is a fun feature to have. It is fun to have first-person footage and makes video making very, very easy. Quick note, there might be background noise just because this is kind of recording out of the blue, but majority of the video you're seeing from the NVG30 in this video have been recorded in very, very superb conditions. We're talking like more than 85% moon, if not, actually around more than 75% moon, with a good majority of these being recorded with more than 90% moon. Just something to think about. The NVG30 loses color capability at what I would say around 50% moon, and it loses color greatly after 70%, and pretty much all color is gone at 50%. Just worth noting. I'll have an actual performance comparison video on the NVG30 and some other things up soon. I just want to make a note on that. I'll talk about hypothetical disadvantages to this in the opinion section that is timestamped. After doing some research, I found that no one had tried to make a bridge for these devices, so I got onto Fusion 360 and started designing. Eventually, this is what I came up with and 3D printed. I don't have a name for this bridge, nor am I done iterating off of it, but this is a working version that has all of the features I wanted. Going from the top down, the bridge has a 3D printed dovetail contact. It can be removed and replaced as it is a possible wear part. Underneath the dovetail are 2 holes that can be used with the bungee hooks on your bump helmet to get rid of any wobble between the mount and the dovetail. From there, the arms. The arms connect the devices to the bridge. On the left side is the analog arm. It clamps itself into the bridge using 2 M5 screws and 2 threaded inserts. My analog device screws into the arm using a 1/4 by 20 screw, which is standard for analog monoculars. On the NVG30 side, the arm attaches to the bridge using the same method as the analog, but directly screws into the top of the NVG30. I slightly messed up the dimensions of the NVG30 plate, so only 2 screws fit, but for proof of concept, this is honestly fine. The bridge is designed around my head and eyes, but I'm working on making it more adjustable. As of now, the bridge articulates. This lets you choose what device you want to be using at any time and helps your helmet become more balanced when you want to keep the night vision devices stowed. If you have any ideas on how to improve this, or even a name for the bridge, or any other questions, let me know in the comments. I read every single one and respond to a great majority of them.
Alright, let's see. So, this is kind of the opinion section, and just thought section of every video I do. Let's just get right into it. I'm gonna start with the bridge, and my thoughts and opinions on it. I designed this myself, so these are more thoughts than reviewers' opinions. So the first thing is, this bridge is designed for my analog mono, which is not a PVS-14. There goes my notes. My analog mono is a 3D printed one. It was designed by, I think, Toto McFed, and he basically specializes in designing 3D printed housings for non-standard image intensifier tubes. So this is I think an MX868, which is a really weird. It's a bigger image intensifier tube that's fits no standard housings except maybe the D300. I'll get a video on this tube itself later, but basically this is a standard Photonis XD4 system, right? Pretty good stats for Gen 2 Plus. It's a bit older, but still has all the things you want. Gen 2 Plus, auto gating, all right minimum BOM. Just the only issue is it's not in a standard housing. So I did design this around the Toto McFed housing. Because of that, I have no idea if this works for the PVS-14. I don't own a PVS-14, so with most people having PVS-14s, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I could definitely model one pretty easily, but that's something that you got to consider if you want to make one of these yourself, kind of figuring that out. The next big thing is articulation on this. While it is present, it's not quite real because the way I have it set up, the screws that handle articulation actually kind of unscrew themselves. So the more you do that, the more that they actually won't hold up at all. So these won't hold up. They'll just flop around, right? But you basically have to tighten them after a certain amount of uses. So that's something that definitely needs to be fixed before I do any sort of release on this. If I was to release this, it would just be free public files. You wouldn't have to pay for them. They would just be available. So yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be worked on. I need to work on fixing IPD, which is the distance between your eyes, so adjustments on it, and I need to work on articulation, and I'll figure that out eventually. But I do want it to articulate because you have a lot of advantages to articulation I've already talked about, but helmet can stay more balanced like this if you want to stow the things. Even if you want it to be up like this is still substantially more balanced than if you had to pull your tubes forward, because then it's wanting to pull forward. So being able to, just totally broke that. That's kind of funny. Whoa. Dang. Okay, that's interesting. Update on NVG30. I just pulled the 3D printed, the heat inserts straight out of the mount. I was not expecting that. This is kind of unfortunate because, as you just saw, I broke the NVG30 kind of. Before I actually recorded any of the other stuff, so hopefully I'll be able to get that fixed soon enough. Kind of going back to the NVG30, funny enough, the other issue I have is I did not properly offset the plate of the NVG30. It's just directly on top of it. So the eye relief doesn't actually quite line up with the PVS, your monocular, right? So it's hard to show because I just totally tore the 3D, I mean the heated inserts out, but I'll try to show this. This is how it's supposed to look. You can see that the analog device shoots back just a little bit, and the analog device has a better what's it called, eye relief, has better eye relief than the NVG30. So I kind of need to switch them or something, or just make them line up evenly to get eye relief working better. It's not bad enough where nothing works, but it's sometimes just annoying because you have to have the monocular's eye relief like straight up to your eye to get a clean image out of the NVG30, when it really should kind of just be even. Just more quality of life stuff. I'll make a full video on this bridge later, just kind of talking about assembly, the final version of it, but this is just kind of showing it off right now. All right, opinions on like the idea of running a digital tube and an analog tube. I'm gonna first do the negatives because I kind of already talked about all the positives in the scripted part. So first, the big negative is increased weight. So this system right here, without it being broken in half, like I just unaccidentally did, weighs around 680 grams, right? Which is pretty heavy. It's not crazy heavy, but it is 100-ish grams more than dedicated dual tube analog systems. But I'm pretty sure it weighs a bit less than bridged analog systems. So just consider weight, right? The other thing to consider is it's not just weight, it's a possible dead weight, because this has a 6-hour battery life, which is pretty good for digital, but this has 40 hours of battery life. Most monoculars are gonna have battery lives from around 35 to 50 hours, right? So if this thing dies and you don't have backup batteries, and backup batteries for this are larger, they're not CR123s, they're the 18650s. They're this size, right? Twice the size of a CR123. You're gonna need to start going through batteries if you're gonna try to keep this up at the same rate as the analog, or you're just gonna have dead weight. So that's just one thing to consider. And weight on your head is a really, really big deal. I personally have found that as long as I'm just staying on top of my batteries, and I have my counterweight and whole thing set up there, especially when it's the clone amps, which I'll be making a video on soon, it actually balances very nicely. I really like how it feels. So for me, not the end of the world, but definitely can be a big deal for a lot of people. Next negative is the lack of an investment of a second digital system, right? So I think right now for this video, we're kind of talking to analog owners, people that own one analog monocular, and the idea is buying a digital monocular to get color, right? That's kind of the idea I'm proposing. So I'm gonna actually kind of come back to this on the positive, but this is not as good of an investment as a Omni 6, 7, 8, or even Pinnacle PVS 14, right? Those will hold value much, much better, and also will be, once again, more powerful at low light using. So if your whole thing is you want to save money, just consider to the fact that if you bought one of these analog budget devices, that could actually save you money in the long run, because you could upgrade to duals. You can sell it for substantially more than you could sell this for, like percentage wise, right? If I was to resell this, I think a safe price would be to sell for probably $300, $350 used, especially with the torn things out now. But if I was to buy an Omni 8 tube for like $220, I think I could easily sell that for $2,200, right? I could definitely sell that for $2,100, right? Just differences on price loss over time. I'm kind of rambling, but that's kind of all I'm saying, is digital does not hold its value as well as analog. That's pretty well established. On the flip side of that, if you just want a loaner device, right, the NVG30 is a fantastic loaner device. I'll get more into this in the dedicated review for this, but it is cool to give someone a device that actually has kind of features, right? People like to be able to record what they're seeing, so this can record. Color's also really cool for people to see. It kind of gives them, I'm not going to say a step over your analog device, because your analog will see better, but it gives people things that the analog device can't do, right? If I was to give someone an NVG10, right, there is literally nothing that thing does better or like does more than a analog device, right? Most digital night vision is just gonna be black and white, and a lot of the helmet ones are just no record, so it gives you no options more. But NVG30 does actually give you some more cool features that would be interesting as a loaner device. The other thing about that is if you're buying this loaner device for $500 to give to your friend, it's not useless anymore without friends, right? You just throw it onto a bridge, you got color with your analog night vision, you got depth perception, you got some of the advantages of duals. Yeah, that's kind of it. The other thing you gotta remember is it's not gonna perform nearly as well as an analog device. So as it gets darker and darker, the advantages of duals will start going away, right? When you start getting to those dark nights, your analog device will definitely be seeing while the digital device does not work, and that kind of goes back to the dead weight thing. This will be dead weight at some point, while this is almost always going to be useful. Last thing, and this is kind of a small thing, but increased spectrum sensitivity. Digital can kind of see a greater spectrum of light depending on what type of tubes you're using for analog. I'm not an expert in this. I'm just kind of saying this off what I've seen and what I've heard. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but you should actually have more spectral sensitivity with the NVG30. This kind of means that, like a good example I would say is IR light from phones is very, very bright under night vision, right? It's not visible to the human eye, but night vision can totally see it. It is even brighter to the NVG30. I think in general you will just see more light in other spectrums with a digital device. I have a feeling that that's going to become more popular in military technology, not necessarily just with digital, but with expanded wavelength thermal, like the COSI, I think, right? But that's some crazy voodoo magic stuff with like swear and like mall clads and stuff like that, I think. That's kind of it. I really like that setup. It's honestly, I'm kind of sad it broke because I need to fix it now, but it's been my favorite night vision setup yet so far to use. I highly recommend giving it a try if you have an NVG30 laying around. Yeah, it's really cool. As always, email me if you have questions, comment. I loved helping people out. And thank you for making it to this part of the video. Pardon my dogs, they're being a bit loud. She is a bit strange, but yeah, that's it. Comment as always, and actually use your gear. Night vision's cool. You don't have to be at a range to use it. Enjoy your stuff.